And what Donald Trump also said, he wants tariffs on European steel and aluminium. The European Commission on February 10th threatened retaliatory measures in return if US President Donald Trump goes forward with his plan to impose a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminium imports from Europe. Wow. Trump said that on February 9th, that Washington would announce tariffs on steel and aluminium imports into the United States later this week. The EU's executive arm commented that it had not received any official notification regarding the imposition of additional tariffs on EU goods yet, but said it would react to protect the interests of European businesses, workers, and consumers from unjustified measures. The European Commission criticized the decision as unlawful and economically counterproductive, arguing that the deeply integrated supply chains between the EU and US would suffer under such restrictions. The dispute over tariffs dates actually way back to Trump's first term, when his administration imposed duties on nearly $7 billion worth of European steel and aluminium exports in 2018, citing national security concerns. The EU retaliated with tariffs on American goods. A temporary truce was reached in 2021 under the Biden administration, with the US partially lifting the tariffs and replacing them with a quota system. In exchange, the EU froze its countermeasures. Trump's latest move threatens to reignite the trade dispute. French President Emmanuel Macron warned that tariffs on EU goods could backfire on the U.S. economy by driving inflation. In an interview with CNN, Macron also urged Washington to focus on confronting China, managing the Middle East crisis, and supporting Ukraine, rather than engaging in a trade war with its European allies. Trump's announcement comes amidst a flurry of executive orders from him and from his administration in his first weeks back in the office, which have caused domestic and international disruptions, to put it mildly. These include freezing foreign aid, tightening immigration policies, conducting widespread purge of federal agencies, etc., etc. The freeze on foreign aid has already affected some very key organizations in Ukraine, including independent media, for example, in efforts to repair our energy infrastructure. I wonder, did Trump mention that when talked to Putin last time? You know, to cheer a dictator up a bit? Because the dictators always look so sad and grumpy, as if they wanted to rule the world, but then things went south for them somehow. And a Blitz interview with founding chairman of the Advanta Group of Companies, Doctor of Economics, Andrei Dligach, with discussing Russian economy. Is it collapsing or not? Sanctions are working or not? Etc. Andrei Dligach, Doctor of Economic Science, which is very useful in today's mayhem, founder and CEO of Advanta Group. Mr. Dligach, hello. Thanks for joining.
Nice to see you. Hello.
Nice to see you. So, my first question, help me to understand. We heard many times, oh my God, Russian economy is collapsing. Well, is it collapsing?
Yeah, in fact, yes.
Really?
But this collapse is not so quick one.
Okay.
You see that Russia had enough resources to continue this aggressive war. Russia had several sources of supporting its economy, including international companies which are still working on the Russian market.
That is true.
Help from China, from India, economic help, economic aid by using Russian materials, using Russian problems for their own pragmatic interests realization, like cheap oil or cheap gas from Russia, some components, or selling on the Russian market its own pharmaceutics or something like that. So Russia had several sources to cover expenses, additional expenses made by their aggression. But in fact, the biggest source, their national fund, wealth fund, almost empty. Uh, they have resources only for the next 6 to 8 months to
Oh,
cover their budget deficit. It is why, yes, the Russian economy is collapsing. High level of inflation,
okay.
high level of the debts and bad debts in economy, logistics problem with import, etc., etc.
Okay, so thank you so very much. I'm glad. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love Russian economy to collapse finally. I'm all for it. But the sanctions, let's talk about sanctions, helping Russian economy to collapse faster. Oil and gas, but Russian oil and Russian gas is still traded in Europe and will be traded, whatever the collective West decisions are about it, right? So don't get me wrong, again, loopholes are there and there will be more. But what if Trump and Saudis, if they will come to a decision to drop the prices, like tomorrow, below the Kremlin's minimal acceptable threshold, which is whatever it is, at $35 or something, say the new price is $25. What happens then? Will Russian economy survive or not?
Russian budget earns approximately $5 to $6 billion per month from oil and gas export.
Right.
Yes, it is a big amount. It's almost half of their war expenses for now. So, if first of all, European Union realizes their sanctions like an embargo, trade embargo on gas and oil, and LNG, and oil products, Russian economy speed up their collapse, and they will not have enough money to realize modernization of
Right.
their army.
Okay.
The main issue for us is the technologization, because without this technologization, without this earnings on oil and gas export, Russian army will be like our Soviet army in early 70s. Because they can still use a lot of tanks and a lot of armors, they have enough weapon for old-fashioned war. In addition to this, they pay 10 times less for one armor than Ukraine, for example, using American or European armors. It is why Russia
mm,
can continue war anyways, even having economic collapse. They will still pay
right.
by
My next
rubles
question.
to soldiers, and they can continue this war
Meat
year on.
waves. They can continue meat
Yep.
waves exactly with they paying rubles to almost sentenced to death Russians that are fighting on a battlefield. God knows for what reason. But I wanted to ask about that rare earth thing and the mayhem with that Trump wants it to return and he wants to give us aid and guarantees. But I actually now decided to ask another question. Let us imagine, let us speculate on that. The moment has come and Russian economy stopped for whatever reason. It just stopped and collapsed, as we just discussed. What is going on then? Then politically and economically, but your proficiency
Yep.
is in economy, so let's talk that way. In economic, what people are going to do is Putin's power over their mind, collective Russian mind, will survive. Do you think?
Very good question. For sure, we have several scenarios
Right.
which are we
Obviously.
analyzing all time. Uh, I can say that this scenario mostly depend on Putin's decisions. Uh, Unfortunately, we cannot predict his decisions, even if Trump or Xi Jinping will press on him to stop this war, because his strategy is definitely to destroy Ukraine as the independent state, to renovate, rebuild Russian Empire, and this is why even if we agree to have negotiations with him, I'm not sure that even in case of ceasefire, we will have stable peace for a long period of time.
I mean, this is
He
obvious, right?
will
Right.
continue
Right.
his aggression. The only way for the Western world, for developed democratic world, to stop this war is demilitarization, deputinization, and
Deputization.
in
That's right.
fact, de deconstruction of Russia. Because I cannot be sure that next Putin, next Tsar of Kremlin will be more democratic. Vice versa. I'm sure that the next one will be the same as Putin. It is why the democratic world should be prepared for the scenario of deconstruction of Russia. It is why we are working now very, very deeply on a topic of preparing uh, local, regional authorities, regional elites in Russia to build their own states on the territory of Russia, like in Krasnodarsky Krai, like in Bashkortostan, Tatarstan, Ichkeria, and other regions. They are ready. I mean, local elites. But anyways, it's a very, very catastrophic scenario for Russia, and unfortunately, this scenario is not supported still, or better to say, yet, by U.S. government or EU government. But this is the only way how to have stability in a long period of time.
All right. Well, I would love to talk to you about this more and argue. Actually, I'm not sure that this is the best way for Ukraine either, but this is several. This is the separate topic, and it takes hours to discuss. I would love to know your professional opinion on that. But today, I want to ask you last question for today. I was always wondering, like there's personal sanctions, there are collective sanctions and personal sanctions. So, say I am a Russian oligarch and I have, I don't know, EU or British passport, all right, British passport, but my name is Ivan Ivanovich, all right, and I'm Russian all right and all the way, and I've stolen billions of dollars and I'm subjected to sanctions internationally even with this passport. So my question is, can I hide behind my American or British or European passports if I'm Russian?
Uh, the very interesting topic here is that personal sanctions should work as the exit strategy, not real sanctions. An idea of personal sanctions was to push on oligarchs, on local authorities, on media, on different kind levels of businessmen, etc., to go out of Russia, to stop realizing that Russia strategy, to stop supporting Putin. This exit strategy should be a kind of simultaneous or maybe metaphoric um, action made by thousands of Russian politicians, elites, oligarchs, etc. And this exit strategy should be a only way how to keep their assets around the
Right,
world
alive
and
and
to
running.
continue
Right,
to have possibilities for their child to study in Cambridge or Harvard or
right. Well,
whenever. So this was an idea to include thousands, up to 20,000 of elite representatives in these sanction lists, and to give them exit strategy. In fact, this was not realized. I'm monitoring each week. I'm monitoring the status of sanctions, and I have to say that this kind of sanctions, personal sanctions, unfortunately, is the less realized idea. In fact, we prepared this idea with hundreds of
Exactly.
economists and politicians around the world,
Right.
but it was not realized through these last 3 years.
Yeah, well, this is why I've asked my question. It seems to me that these personal sanctions are not working as well. It would be even better, if America and Europe would offer all these oligarchs just to move over to Europe and America, to take their passports, and that would be an exit strategy. They will leave then, because let's be honest. I mean, if you're an oligarch and you have billions of dollars, it's not a big problem for you to change even a personality and a passport, and you can buy almost everything. That's how the world is working, and we are actually playing this game too. But at least somewhat sanctions are working, and this is what you are saying, and helping to make the collapse of Russian economy faster. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
For sure, we are waiting for deeper trade
Yes.
embargo,
Yes.
deeper financial sanctions,
Sure.
and secondary sanctions, which should stop cooperation with Russia for China, for India, for Indonesia, Vietnam, and other countries around the world.
Amen to that. Thank you so very much, Andre, and I hope to talk to you again before, or maybe during and after the collapse of Russian economy. Thank you.